What is up, Raider Nation? And it's week 2 of the NFL season. We already know that we're 0-1. We already know about the Charger game. We can't go back and fix that of what happened in the Charger game, but we can look forward to tomorrow where the Raiders travel to Baltimore to take on the Ravens, who are also 0-1. The Ravens played the Kansas City Chiefs last week, and they had a tough loss where they were one toe away from actually tying the game, going for two and trying to do whatever they were going to do at that game. But with the Raiders traveling to Baltimore, there is some injuries to look at as the Raiders. Brock Bowers was good. Devon Diablo ready to go. Etchenberg ready to go this game. Andre James ready to go. Colton Miller ready to go. JPJ will be a game time decision. I don't think he'll play. And Tyree Wilson and Richardson have already been ruled out. On the Ravens side of the ball, they are going to be without Nate Wiggins. Van Noy, their linebacker, is questionable. Roquan Smith, he's going to play. He was full practice all week, so except for on Wednesday, but he'll be out there. And their other outside linebacker, Isaac, is doubtful for the game, so I doubt that he'll play. But Raider fans, I know a lot of you guys are trying to write the Raiders off, trying to say that there's no chance. The spread has gone from 7 points to the Ravens to now 9.5. So even Las Vegas betting odds are against the Raiders. And we saw how banged up the Raiders were and how the Raiders destroyed themselves mostly in that game. Charger fans are excited because they got that win. Power to them. The Chargers defense was a lot better. But when you look at the Raiders and the Ravens, there are some few matchups that the Raiders will be able to exploit if they actually open up their offense just a little bit. And that's what we saw last week is the offense went into the game with the game plan of not losing, not to make any plays that would hurt the defense, and it ended up hurting us anyway. So we need to get Luke Getsy going. Luke Getsy needs to start calling the aggressive plays. And find Devontae Adams, find Jacoby Myers, find Brock Bowers, find your playmakers, and be able to make those audibles at the line. If you see Devontae Adams one-on-one, make that audible and you're throwing it to him. The Raider fans will rather see our offense aggressive and lose the game as long as we're trying out there and we're not doing what we did last week and going straight conservative. So I think the Raiders matchup, the Raiders' defensive line against the Ravens' offensive line is something to look at because Ronnie Stanley, Andrew Voorhees, Linderbaum, Falahi, and Miyakiar, I don't know how to say that name. Those guys had a very bad game, and Lamar Jackson was running for his life last week. And you didn't really see a great game plan from the Ravens offense as well till later on in the game when they started getting it going to likely. Lamar Jackson was their focal point on the running game. A lot of people are like, what about Derrick Henry? Derrick Henry does have a good history against the Raiders, so that is kind of concerning. But I don't know how much Derrick Henry has left in his NFL career. They gave him 13 carries last week, only 46 yards. They look like Justice Hill was more of their passing back. So we're going to see two different running backs again this week. But, Lamar Jackson is the main concern because we have to keep him contained. This is the game that I'm telling you that Christian Wilkins was brought in for. Christian Wilkins was brought in for a game like this because the last couple of years with Max Crosby, the Raiders were able to get the quarterback pressure, come off the ends, and the quarterback in any game, not just Lamar Jackson, was able to step up and just run past our defensive tackles because they were nowhere to be in sight. Now with John Jenkins, now with Adam Butler, now with Christian Wilkins, it is going to make it tougher, and the Raiders should be able to contain Lamar Jackson just a little bit more. If you notice, the Raiders had their cornerbacks played a pretty damn good game last week. And so can they – who are they going to assign Zay Flowers to? That is going to be a big matchup right there where Zay Flowers is their number one guy. They use him everywhere. They hand it off to him. They sweep it to him. They try to screen to him. Anything to get the ball to Zay Flowers is what Lamar Jackson's going to try to do. So the Raiders have a good matchup there. And just like we do, just like the Raiders, they have two good tight ends. Last week, Mark Andrews wasn't involved as much as they want, but if they can get Andrews and Likely going, then it's a good 1-2 combination at that tight end position. Um, but I think our linebackers are good enough to stick them, especially Diablo, who being a former safety himself, will be able to take care of that. And the Raiders should match up well against them defensive standpoint. The only thing the Raiders are like we're looking at, we're looking like Gardner Minshew had a great completion percentage last week, 70%, something like that, and everybody's losing their mind going, he did really great. But it was the dump off bull crap that we don't want to see. The 2 yards here, the behind the scrimmage, try to make a play and go. We want to see him try to push the downfield, push the vertical game just a little bit. And if you watch the Ravens and the Chiefs last week, mobility is key for the quarterback. Which, if you went with Gardner Minshew, you went with Gardner Minshew because he has mobility over AOC, not because he's the better quarterback, but because of the mobility. So Gardner Minshew, we didn't see the mobility against the Chargers, but we want to see it this week against the Baltimore Ravens. So move around in the pocket, roll out a little bit, get it going, and find the middle of the field. Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers should be able to take advantage of the middle of the field against this team. You saw it last week with the Chiefs, where the Chiefs were not only hitting, where the Chiefs are hitting Noah Gray and Travis Kelce and Justin Watson. Like, those are the guys that were going at it. If Devontae Adams gets a bad matchup, then you don't go to him. But there's good weapons on this Raider team that should be able to take advantage of the Ravens defense, who looked like they were hurting just a little bit with Patrick Queen not being on their team this year. It's a different Ravens defense. Like I said, Van Noy's hurt, Wiggins hurt, Humphrey still coming back from injury. Sorry, got a little cough, not feeling well this week, but I'm excited for the game tomorrow. I'm not gonna. A lot of people are already writing the Raiders out. I'm not one of those guys because both teams should come in here pissed off. The Raiders have been hearing all the shit all week, and Max Crosby being shut down by a rookie. Was Max Crosby really shut down, or was that part of the game plan? Now Max Crosby's going to come into this game even more motivated and pissed off and ready to go. And the Raiders have heard the outside voices. And if you don't think that Antonio Pierce is getting them pumped up, ready to go, then you're absolutely insane, because that's what Antonio Pierce does. He's a guy who's going to motivate you, let you know that, hey, everybody else is talking. Everybody else says that you can't come into Baltimore and do this. It's a 10 o'clock game on the West Coast, which sucks. It's a 1 o'clock East Coast game, which normally sucks for teams traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast. But that shouldn't be any reason for the Raiders not to show up. The Raiders have to show up for the Raider Nation this week, because a lot of the Raider Nation are now doubting anything they said about it. Already taken back a lot of what they said about Antonio Pierce, which is pretty sad. Like, you knew that this was going to be a project team. You knew that the quarterback position is the question mark for the Raiders going into the season. We just expected not to be a soft, conservative team. And that's what Antonio Pierce said. We're going to come out and we're going to do ill intent, violent, pain. And then we come out and we're like, here's a handoff. Here's a 2-yard dump. No. We ain't doing that crap. That's not the Raider way. The Raider way is at least coming out there, and we're going to make them remember that we might not win the game, but they're going to remember the day that they played the Raiders, right? We're going to knock them around, and we're going to go up and down the field on them. And, hey, what's up with Daniel Carlson? Just a little bit. Daniel Carlson was automatic 2 years ago. Last year started missing some stuff, and then this year already missed one field goal, and then the other one, like, didn't look that good, right? So Daniel Carlson, are we okay there? Can we get some kicks going? And I know a lot of Raider fans are happy about Alexander Madison, want to see a little bit more. I talked about him last Saturday, where I told you I really like Alexander Madison, and he is going to be a part of the Raiders Nation and a part of the Raider role. And then he had that big touchdown catch for us and scored the first touchdown. So I like Alexander Madison. Doesn't mean that he should be our number one running back, No, he's a good complementary to Zamir White. We just need to get Zamir White going. We need to get the offensive line going. If you looked, it looked like Colton Miller needed the reps in the preseason that he didn't get because he didn't look that good last week. Cody Whitehair, I'm not sure why he's starting for us in there. We might as well just give Meredith or somebody else a shot in there. Move Andre Speed to guard. Whitehair was horrible. Andre James, there was some points where he was looking bad. There were some points where Parham was looking bad. Mumford, I think, was our best offensive lineman. The one guy that we were questioning last week was our best offensive lineman at the end of the game. So that's interesting to go from there. Oh, man. But Raider fans, how are you guys feeling going into the game? But really, this is another wide receiver core that is not great. I mean, Zay Flowers is better than Josh Palmer. We'll go there. But Bateman, Aguilar, Wallace, these aren't your top typical guys. So this is another offense that our defense should match up well again. We just can't keep our defense on the field for 40 minutes a game. That is not a winnable situation for the Raiders if you're keeping your defense on the field and not getting them out. Now somebody is asking on TikTok. Sorry, I am live on TikTok and I am live on YouTube. YouTube Joe Morley. If you guys want to come over there, it's easier for me to pull your comments onto the screen. Somebody's asking, who would you rather play, Brock Bowers or Andrews? Of course, you're going to play Brock Bowers, but he's going to get it. You saw what Andrews did last week, and that's a tough one. Whew, got my throat going today. But 10 points this week will not cut it for the Raiders. 10 points will not cut it again for the Raiders. They need to go out there. Like I said, they need to open it up and go outside. Like last week, the Raiders were committed to running the ball up the middle. And then it was like, why aren't you taking it outside? Why aren't you taking it outside? And then they started going outside, and they had some success out there and fumble and turnover. So hopefully we'll see a little bit different. But, yeah, if you have Brock Bowers, that is somebody that you want to play out there. And this goes back, like last week, like we're showing the point, like why Brock Bowers is an elite player in this league, but it was also a luxury pick for the Raiders in the NFL draft. A lot of people were talking crap to me saying, oh, you didn't watch Brock Bowers in college. Yes, I did. I was just saying it was a luxury pick for the Raiders because it would have been nice to have an offensive lineman, another offensive lineman that would have been good to have out there, another quarterback. But this is what we got. This is what we have going on. And Gardner Minshew, I mean, is Gardner Minshew on a short leash? I don't think so because the Raiders PR all week was promoting how good his percentage was. And I think the Raiders offense, and it feels that he's the better quarterback because of his mobility. But at what point, if you're not going to use your mobility, is it going to hurt the team as well? Because I think Aiden O'Connell can make a couple more throws, a couple long throws, a couple on the dot throws better than Gardner Minshew. But like you said, Gardner Minshew, or everybody has said, Gardner Minshew is able to roll out. He's able to run. Last week he would have probably had a good run if that great. I'll give Boza his credit. Boza made a good shoestring tackle on Gardner Minshew in that game to stop him from getting the first down. Now, if it's late in the game and we're faced with another 4th and 1 into opposing territory, I'm pretty damn sure Antonio Pierce learned his lesson and he's going to go for it. There's Antonio Pierce is learning the game as he goes, and he has to just rely on his instincts. The same instincts that he was as a player, he should use as a coach. If he wanted the team to go for it when he was on the field and he felt that way, then he should do that as a head coach as well. Somebody's asking about Jackson Powers Johnson, the guard for the Raiders, if he's going to be able to go tomorrow. He is a game time decision. They'll find out about an hour and a half, 2 hours before the game. But I'm going to guess that he doesn't play. I'm going to guess he's inactive. The Raiders have brought in Kavlon Chaisson, the defensive end from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think you guys are going to like him. He's going to be wearing number 44 tomorrow. He is the former number one not overall pick, but former first round pick. Went to Jacksonville. And the linebacker coach for the Raiders is Mike Caldwell, who had him on the team with the Jaguars, so he knows everything about him. He'll be out there because the Raiders are hurting at the defensive end position. You got Max Crosby, you got Janoris Robinson, you have Snowden, and then you have him Chase on. So you have those four going into the game with Tyree Wilson being hurt. Tyree Wilson and Malcolm Koonce being hurt. So that what we thought was going to be a position of strength has now turned into a little bit of weakness for the Raiders. But and I know it sucks. Tyree Wilson, they say, is probably going to be out for a good extended amount of time. Malcolm Koonce was put on the IR, so that is something that the Raiders need to get going. Is their defensive line and getting somebody on the opposite side of Max Crosby that's able to get to the quarterback. I do like Janarius Robinson. If you watched the game last week, the Raiders moved these defensive ends around, and they put at one point Max Crosby was rushing on the inside, and that was Tyree Wilson was in the game, and I thought Tyree Wilson was actually having a good game until he got hurt. So that was very exciting to see the potential out of him, and then apparently that didn't work out good. I want to see if Lalu can get in the defensive tackle that we claimed from the Indianapolis Colts. I want to see him get a little bit more reps in there on that defensive line, see what he can do. Young player. I know I saw him out there in practice, and he was going one-on-one with a couple of these guys. So hopefully he'll be in the mix this week because it's always good to get a good defensive line rotation going. And, of course, these Raider defensive starters do not want to come off the field. A lot of them are wanting to play all day, all game. Max Crosby didn't come off the field. I think Robert Spillane was on the field for 90% of the time, if not more. There was like a good list of these guys where none of them want to come off the field. That is something to see out there for the Raiders. They like to say that the Raiders aren't giving the effort is tough. Is tough because every one of these guys are football guys. If you look at the defense, they want to get it going. It's just not clicking for them yet. Once it starts clicking, like I think Minshew said that. Once we can get it clicking, I think we have a pretty good DM team. I talked about this in the offseason, how the Chargers were a tough game, and I wanted to get that win because going to Baltimore would be tough. But if we start 0-2, is it that big of a deal? No, because we turn around and we go back to Las Vegas and we take the Carolina Panthers, and we should be able to win that one. Now, if we lose to the Carolina Panthers, we should be talking. But we got the Carolina Panthers, and then we got the Cleveland Browns after this. So 2 tough games to find out what our opponents are, and maybe that's why Minshew was put in there, is because of this. I'm sorry, if you are talking on TikTok, let me see. Oh, somebody said, I hope the Raiders win so it messes up the survivor pool. Yeah, if you were in the survivor pool last week, the Cincinnati Bengals ruined a good portion of everybody's survivor pool. This week, you would think that people are going to take the Raiders or the Ravens. People are going to take the Chargers. So those are 2 upsets that could have. I don't think they'll happen, but I think the Raiders have a really good shot at winning this. I did have a preview earlier this week, and I said I think the Raiders were going to win 23-16. I want to say that's the score that I threw out there. Raiders 23, Ravens 16. Just because I really do believe that the Raiders defense has something for Lamar Jackson, has something for the Ravens offense. I expect the Raiders offense to struggle once again. I'm not going to come out here and tease you and be like, the Raiders offense is going to be so great this week. No, but I expect the Raiders defense to be the ones to make the play. I probably, you know what? I'll call it right now. The Raiders defense will score 1 touchdown in this game, or at least get them in scoring position where they get a touchdown off the turnover. So that's how much I have confidence in the Raiders defense, not as much as the offense. But I think the Raiders defense knows that they need to be the ones that make the play. They need to be the ones that go out there and get the big turnovers. And they're going to put the team on their back. They're going to come pissed off, and they're going to shake week 1 off, and they're going to have a damn good game against the Baltimore Ravens. I feel that they're going to pull it off. Some people will take a moral victory with a close win going down to the wire. I don't like moral victories, but I understand them because at the end of the day, wins are what or should be the only thing that matter. And when you go into the playoffs, you don't get a moral victory playoff, right? You want to go all the way to the playoffs, and you want to make the statement. This would be the statement game, just like Antonio Pierce made a game last year with the Kansas City Chiefs, where everybody was like, "Hey, you beat the Chiefs. Can he do that again? Can he get the team pumped up, ready to go to Baltimore and knock off a good Baltimore Ravens team?" Which, it's crazy because in my preseason predictions, I had the Ravens going to the Super Bowl, and if they lose to the Raiders, they would be 0-2. But now with the extended 18-week season, being 0-2 hasn't been that bad on NFL teams. They've been able to make it up. There was a point, I don't know why one game makes a difference, but there was a point with the 17-game seasons that or with the 17-week seasons that and that teams that started 0-2 were basically almost eliminated. Oh, like it was like real close to being eliminated from postseason contention. It's not like that anymore. I don't know why one game makes that big of a difference, but it has. And you've seen teams over the last couple of years that started 0-2 and be able to go on a little roll into the playoffs. So I'm not going to write either either of these two teams off. But if you have any questions, go ahead and throw it in the chat. I'm live on YouTube. I'm live on TikTok, so I'll try to read both. It's easier to pull them on the screen on YouTube, but that's all right. I'll put on TikTok as well. So go ahead and let's hear those. Oh man, sorry, my throat is crazy right now. I got the coffee. I got the body armor. It's But like I said, I already ran through all the injuries of the game. Both teams have a couple of guys out. I don't think the Raiders are going to be worried about that. But we got to get that running game going, like I said, with Zamir White. If not, going to be another long day. If the running game cannot get going, because every team does it. Every NFL team relies on the running game to get the passing game open. Sometimes you are able to do it the opposite, and you can do the running game and to get the passing game going. But you got to get that offensive line, no matter what, has to be your bread and butter, has to keep you going. And that goes back, if your offensive line is getting beaten pass rush, then your offensive coordinator better be changing plays up and get it going. If you're getting beat in the rush play, then you got to design some plays to help them out in the rush. It's just a lot falls on the offensive coordinator because you don't have to have a great offensive line. You don't have to have the best 5 offensive linemen in the league to have a great offensive line. You just have to have great play designs and get rid of the ball quicker and a little misdirection. And that right there will open up more stuff. You can't, like last week, the Chargers towards the end of the game knew that the Raiders were going to throw the ball, or they knew it was a screen. And they would leave Devontae Adams one-on-one, and the safeties would come up right when it was height. They would come up because they knew that they weren't going to throw the ball to Devontae Adams. This week, you can't allow the Baltimore Ravens to do that. You have to make them scared of the pass. You saw what Xavier Worthy was able to do, a rookie last week against this Baltimore Ravens team. Can we duplicate that with DJ Turner, with Trey Tucker? Can we get their speed to get us open and across the middle and score some touchdowns? That would be something that I would love the Raiders to start the game off with. Maybe a big, long shot and get that vertical game going. Something that we saw in the preseason, and we went away from it week 1. And like I said, week 1, they were probably scared. They were probably playing conservative. They didn't want to show a lot. Go in there. And I think I'm be 100% honest. I think the Raiders underestimated the Chargers. I think they felt that Max Crosby would go in there and dominate Joe Alt. I think they felt that our offensive line would be able to beat their defensive line, thinking that their defensive line wasn't as good, and maybe their defense was as good as the last couple of years. But they did notice that Harbaugh has got that defense going. So I think that was part of the issue. Do you believe that the Raiders need time to get better? Raiders for life. The Raiders, yeah, and every team has to do this. You don't know how good an NFL team is or how bad an NFL team is until week 4, week 5 of the NFL season when everybody gets gelling. Because the NFL players don't like playing in the preseason, but it's showing that the less preseason that these guys are playing, the more injuries we'll see. The garbage that we're seeing in week one, the garbage plays, the inconsistency that they're not getting with their teammates. Preseason has been good in the past, and I think we need to start seeing some of these guys play in the preseason just a little bit more to get the rhythm going, because it's showing that week one, week two, that some of these guys are shaking off that rust. And I that so yes, I do think the Raiders need a little bit of time to get going. And you always want the main thing you want your team to do. And if you don't make the playoffs, like everybody wants to make the playoffs, everybody wants to win the Super Bowl. But if your team doesn't do that, the one thing that you want to look at is to make sure that your team is better than when they started. By the end of the year, they need to have something to grow on. And if your team gets to week 15, week 16, week 17, and they're the same bullshit that you saw on week one, then there's something that needs to be changed in that organization, because your team should grow each and every week and get better each and every week and give you something to look forward to in the future. And if you don't have anything like that to look forward to in the future, then you have the wrong people running your organization. And that's what we're looking for at the Raiders. Antonio Pierce built the Raiders up last year. His 10 games, man, made us feel good in the offseason. Everybody's like, yeah, here we go, here we go. And now it's time to back up your talk, Antonio Pierce. Now you have the whole offseason. Let's get this going. Yeah, and Jeff just said the Niners played Purdy, Debo, and Kittle against the Raiders in the final preseason game, and they came out with a pretty damn good offensive plan in week one. They were missing Ayuk and Trent and Trent. What's his name? I'm going blank on him. Their offensive lineman, but they got it going. And a lot of Raider fans are like, "Did you see Derek Carr last week?" I did. But even him, even in the 3-touchdown game that he had, he only threw for less than 200 yards, right at 200 yards, something like that. It wasn't like quarterbacks were lighting up the week one stat books. That was the crazy thing. We need to see these quarterbacks in preseason games, and I'm going to push it. I also hate Thursday night football. I hate Thursday night football, guys. I don't know why, but I just do. I think it takes away a lot from all the stuff that we saw, and then we saw that big injury to Tua this week. That was unfortunate, but we'll see. A lot of good quarterbacks playing in college football today. I don't know if you guys watched it. Something to keep an eye on, because I've told you, no matter how good Gardner Minshew does or how good Aiden O'Connell does, the Raiders have to do something in free agency and or the draft next year to get it going. But like I said, I've been talking for about 30 minutes now. I think the Raiders have some good matchups they can expose. Now, if they go out there and they play like they did last week, it's going to get ugly. But the leadership on this Raider team, the leadership from Max Crosby, the leadership even from Gardner Minshew, should go out there and get this team ready to go. And Antonio Pierce should motivate them enough to go into Baltimore. Wake your ass up at 10 o'clock in the morning and let's go. But like I said, I have the Raiders winning 23-17. If they don't win tomorrow, well, I'll tell you what. If it's a close game, good for the Raiders. That's good. We would need to see that. If the Raiders, I think the Raiders would win, but it will be disappointing if they do lose. If they get blown out, holy shit. I don't even know how I'll act. And you guys already know that I'm kind of crazy as it is. And I already go nuts because I'm a fan and you're a fan. We're all fans of the NFL football season, and that's where you should be. You should be excited on each and every play. Like when I was in the stadium last week, the Raiders scored its first touchdown. I was going. I was like, yeah. Did I think it was going to last? Probably not. But I'm gonna cheer for every moment of the game. If the Raiders are up 14-0, I'm talking crap. If the Raiders are down 14-0, I'm talking crap. It's going to be one of those games that you're going to have fun. And you just have to ride the emotional roller coaster of every game. And then afterwards, we say what we want because we're fans, right? We're going to talk our crap. We're going to be pissed off if they lose. We're going to be happy if they win. But then come Monday morning, we're going to evaluate everything that we just saw. And then we're going to move on to the next week. That's like being a Raider fan, that's how it is, right? If you're a Raider fan, you already know. And we lost it. We were talking crap all the way up to the Chiefs or to the Chargers game. Chargers beat us. We were upset. We were like, "Ah, man, why do we waste our money on this team?" Blah 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 blah. Then Monday we're like, "Oh, you know what? We actually didn't look that bad. Here's some positives." By Tuesday we're like, oh, "All right, here we go." By Wednesday we're like, "Raiders," and then by Sunday morning tomorrow we're gonna wake up and be like, "We got this. We got this." Going into it again. Arch Manning looked good, is what your mom said. And then Raiders Giants all day is saying, got to try and win this game. Yeah, you got to try to win every game. You got to go out there and win every single game that you're out there. So that's the thing. Like there is no easy games, and the people. If the Raiders lose this game, which I don't think they will, but if the Raiders lose this game, people are going to go out there and they're going to say we should tank for so and so, tank and get a quarterback. No, I've said it last year. I'll say it again. I am not for tanking. Tanking is for losers and a bad franchise. And even if you do tank, that doesn't guarantee you anything. And there's 53 guys on this roster, plus the practice squad guys, that go out there and their careers rely on what happens in between the lines. And if you're going out there and you're wasting these guys' season, that's horrible. If I was an NFL player and you told me that, hey, guys, we're tanking for this, or hey, we don't care if we win because we want a better draft pick, I would have requested a trade ASAP. I would have won off that damn team because I don't give a damn who you draft the next year. When you show that you don't have the emphasis in winning in your franchise, then you should have no NFL players that want to play for your team. That's just me personally. Um, but yeah, like I said, I expect the Raiders to show up with a different attitude tomorrow, with a different offense, not completely offense. Like I'm not out there going the Raiders offense is going to be so different. No, but I expect them to be a little bit more aggressive, push the ball down the field, find your open guys, and that's what we need to find with the Raiders tomorrow against the Ravens. And like I said, the middle of the field should be able to get it, and you should be able to find one of the fast guys. Use the fast guys just like you saw the Chiefs with Xavier Worthy last year. Exploit the weaknesses. It's something that Luke Getsy needs to get better at because Luke Getsy, you have to be hearing it from the Raider Nation already. Luke Getsy, you already know that the Raider Nation is right here, letting you have it each and every week. And if your offense comes out and does another bad performance, woo, just wait because Raider Nation is going to tear your butt up tomorrow. But I think our defense, like I said, I think our defense carries us again tomorrow. Our defense, we just need our offense. If our offense can just get a couple first downs, stay on the field, stop going 3 and out, and give our defense just a little bit of help because you already know they're going to need a lot of it chasing Lamar Jackson around. Just give us a little bit of help to go. Oh, man. Anyways, Raider fans, I hope you guys have a great football Sunday. I hate 10 o'clock games because I live on the West Coast, so I hate 10 o'clock games that the Raiders are playing in at 10 o'clock because if the Raiders win, it's cool. But if the Raiders lose, it ruins my whole day. And it makes me not focus on the afternoon games. Where, like, if the Raiders play at 1 o'clock Pacific time, I'm, like, focused on the 10 o'clock games, and I'm like, oh, okay, I got this. I can watch all these games, and the Raiders come on. But when the Raiders play at 10 o'clock, I only want to watch the Raiders. I don't want to watch the red zone. I don't want to watch anything else. I only want to watch the Raiders. So it kind of throws me off that way when the Raiders play that early game. I don't know about you guys, but that's how I feel. So I like when the Raiders play the 1 o'clock Pacific time zone, but it is what it is. We get this early game tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. Appreciate everybody who's tuned in to YouTube. Make sure you guys hit that like button on TikTok. Please tap the screen if you guys can. And I'll see you guys maybe more likely tomorrow after the game. I'll go live and we'll see how it goes. But I appreciate this. Like Raider Nation, we gotta back our team. We asked for Antonio Pierce. It's gonna take time to get it going. Believe in the process of Antonio Pierce. Don't doubt yourself. And also, Raider fans, check out this shirt that I have right here. You can check these out on fifthdown.shop. Fifthdown.shop. If you're on YouTube, you can just scan the show. But this is the Max Crosby inspired Condor T-shirt. Max Crosby and Condor T-shirt. This is the Raider one. If you use the promo code 5DFAM, 5DFAM, you can get 10% off right now. And if you're not a Raider fan and you're a fan of any other team, Fitdown.shop has all the other teams, so you can get any team that you want. And you guys already know, look how big my ass is, right? Like, if they got shirts that fit me, they got shirts that fit you. Fitdown.shop is where you want to go. Get this Condor shirt. Be one of the only people right now that have this shirt and rep it at the game. And then there's even an Al Davis one that you guys can see on TikTok or on YouTube. You can't see it on TikTok. And I'll be wearing that Al Davis one next week at Allegiant Stadium, because I will be at Allegiant Stadium week 3 versus the Panthers. So I expect everybody else to show up. Raider Nation, next week, Raiders need you to show up. Raiders need you to pack that stadium for them after this Raven game. Tickets right now are the cheapest I've ever seen. It's kind of crazy for the Raider game in Allegiant Stadium, so you can get actually some good tickets for next week. But when the Raiders pull this upset, when the Raiders beat the Ravens tomorrow, tickets are going to skyrocket. So you guys got to get your tickets for Vegas to next week right now. Anyways, Raider fans, always check out Woodson Bourbon Whiskey. And then you already know that I got my other hat right here. This is my favorite hat, where we're just sitting here trying to make the Raiders great again and try to get the Raiders back to the playoffs. I buy my tickets on Ticketmaster. That's where I buy them. Just me personally. I've tried TickPick. I've tried other places. And it's normally, sometimes you can save $10, sometimes you can't. So I usually just go through Ticketmaster because at least I know they're 100% going to get me the tickets when I'm going to the game. So that's my thing for you. But I've seen the lower level for next week against the Panthers, which I've never seen under like $300, $400. They're like down to $200 at Allegiant Stadium. So if you want to sit at a good spot next week and root on the Raiders as they take on the Carolina Panthers in the home opener, go ahead and do that. But the Raiders have to take care of business first tomorrow, not to overlook the Ravens, because this is a tough matchup. The Raiders have to take care of business in Baltimore tomorrow, and we're going to be up early on the West Coast watching that. So Raider fans, get up, wake the whole house up tomorrow by yelling, Raiders, right? And just make sure everybody is ready for their game day. Like I said, check out fitdown.shop for the Condor T-shirt and the other jerseys. I appreciate everybody, all the new people that tuned in on YouTube, all the people that tuned in on TikTok. And I will be back tomorrow after the game. So let's do this. Raider fans, get hyped, get pumped, get ready. See you tomorrow.